Well, all right then. That pretty much seals the deal for Ronda Rousey ever coming back to WWE. I think it's pretty safe to say she will not be coming back to WWE. I also think it's pretty safe to say WWE will not be welcoming Ronda Rousey back to the company, as they now view her as a liability. Not a reliability, a liability for what Ronda is now saying about the company. From Vince McMahon to the other top executives to the booking of the females, what actually goes on with the females in WWE, Ronda Rousey is pulling back the curtain and the wizard is fully exposed in Oz. Thanks to Ronda Rousey. As much as Ronda has, for the most part, always gotten along with Paul Levesque McMahon and Stephanie McMahon, but they also have had their arguments, disagreements, and so many times where they have not been on the same page. But no matter who she gets along with in WWE, there's no way they can take her back now. I mean, the things that she is saying, you guys have to listen to this. And this is all in her new memoir, her new book, titled Our Fight. So I just want to go over just some of the things. These are just some of what Ronda Rousey is saying about WWE. So let me just we'll jump right into it. I also want to talk Seth Rollins in just a few minutes because Seth Rollins is also opening up as to why Ronda Rousey couldn't cut it in WWE. And he gives the exact reason, one of the biggest reasons why she had to give herself Das Boot. But now Ronda is throwing her hands up in the air. She's pretty much, I think she has made the decision herself that she just can't come back, and maybe it's because of what Seth is saying. So we'll go over that as well. Seth Rollins, what he said, and in that same discussion, Seth Rollins throws a major diss over to CM Punk. So we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Ronda Rousey says the following. She says, Vince McMahon, she starts with Vince. Vince took over the company from his father in the early 1980s and spent the better part of 40 years playing a real-world pro wrestling version of Monopoly, buying up and absorbing smaller promotions until he basically owned them all. It's hard sometimes to know where the evil, unethical, slimeball character of Vince McMahon played out for the cameras ends and the actual questionably ethical, many times sued, and multiple times accused of sexual misconduct Vince McMahon begins. That blurred line between character and reality is a recurring theme within the WWE universe. Right there, man, there's more to talk about. There's more quotes that I want to go over, but right there, fatality, right? Fatality, game over. On her return to WWE, it just can't happen. Now, I mean, she didn't just stop at Vince McMahon. She said that blurred line between character and reality is a recurring theme within WWE. So she's saying it doesn't stop at Vince and Kennedy. You'll see that trend nonstop in that company. She goes on to say, for the pay-per-views, they're usually held in major cities like New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, as well as now twice a year in Saudi Arabia, a nation that restricts the rights of women in a way that I'm certain Vince McMahon wishes that he could. Damn! It's clear they did not get along. Tell me how you really feel, Ronda. Ronda goes on to say WWE loves to do well-produced video segments about the legacy of women within the organization, but the truth is the women have largely been footnotes. For the longest time, they were relegated to serving male characters in a valet role, an overly sexualized supporting character that takes cheap shots when the ref isn't looking. Over time, as the level of female talent grew and society as a whole started to shift, the organization gradually expanded the role of female wrestlers. She goes on to say WWE bills itself as a sports entertainment organization, and just like in the mainstream entertainment industry, there was by all accounts a casting couch where men backstage in powerful positions pressured female talent for sexual favors in return for airtime. Not just Vince, Again, she says there was a casting couch culture where men backstage in powerful positions pressured female talent for sexual favors in return for airtime. There were so many public accusations and scandals that it's hard to keep track, and more than I'm sure the WWE management swept under the ring. There's more. Now she talks just the reason WWE had to start giving the women some more time. And she says it was only after, this is a quote, only after WWE was basically armbarred into it following a global social media backlash, give divas a chance. Hashtag. After divas were given a total of 30 seconds, less time than it takes most people to read this paragraph, for a nationally televised tag team match. 4 women were given less time to collectively wrestle than every single man on the roster got for his intro music alone. Oh, bro. Hold on, there's more. Presented this information as a person outside of the wrestling world, you might draw the conclusion that there is a troubling, foundational, sexist, patriarchal culture within WWE. And you would be right. I have nothing but respect for the female wrestlers who paved the way for women wrestlers today, and nothing but disgust for the amount of sexist, degrading bullshit that they were put through. So yeah, Ronda won't be back in WWE if anybody thought that was going to happen. It was clear, guys, for her whole run, she was not happy in WWE. Her whole entire run, her and Vince seemed to never on the same page. She could go to Paul and Stephanie more so than not. But then, as she even said many times, there was also times of just they couldn't get on the same page either. And then it was only when she really felt that nobody was listening or nobody was really understanding and doing something about it, even Paul, Levesque, McMahon, and Stephanie. It was only then when she would then start to go on these tirades. And over the years, you've seen Ronda Rousey open up big and totally throw WWE under the bus, a lot of it for the women in their booking. You remember the Liv Morgan. She was not happy with the booking, with the whole Ronda Rousey, Liv Morgan situation. Nobody won from that either. Ronda Rousey did not come out looking strong. Liv Morgan ended up getting the crowd turning on her. It was booked poorly. So, I mean, much of what she is saying is justified. It just is. Now, you could talk about the timing of it, right? This is where people are saying there's bitterness, and this is where people are saying, well, you still took Vince's money. You still cashed the WWE checks, and they gave you a boatload of money for what you contributed. You still took all the money. And then when you couldn't hack it, now all of a sudden you're not just throwing them under the bus. You've literally bought out a bus company, hired a bunch of drivers, and you're having them just roll over WWE, putting it in reverse. The whole fleet of buses, for 15 buses. You're just going in circles, friggin' running over Vince and WWE. So I see why a lot of people are saying the timing of it, just so you can sell books, make even more money off the WWE name. I get that as well. But there's we know there's so much truth in it too. So it's like you can't look past it, right? You do wish that she just, when she felt this way from the jump, she was like, I'm out. But she didn't really do that. But to her credit, she called out WWE every time she had time off, or felt like nobody was in her corner, nobody was listening, nobody was doing something about it. She would say something on the social doohickey machine. She came out with many kind of riveting comments to WWE in interviews. So it's not like she totally, bit back and held back on her tongue. So I do have to give her some credit on that, but she never, not like this. It wasn't until she had to leave the company, and from what Seth Rollins is saying, nothing to do with any of this, by the way. Let me get that up real quick. Let me get a sip of coffee. I'll tell you what Seth Rollins said. And there's even a little CM Punk jab in all this. So in terms of Ronda leaving WWE once and for all, and now we know pretty much for good, Seth Rollins is saying she just couldn't hack it, really. I mean, the travel alone was just, Ronda couldn't hack it. This is a quote from Seth. "I don't want to knock Ronda Rousey because I love Ronda. She did a lot for our industry, our women in the industry, the fight industry in general, but it was just tough for Ronda. She tried her damnedest, and it was just too hard for her. But I don't know, I'd love for somebody to come over and take a crack if you think you can hang, but it's just hard." He says they don't have the stamina for it, meaning not just Ronda, but those he has seen come over from MMA. He just says most, like Ronda, they just don't have the stamina for it. And I quote, "They don't fight every single weekend. This championship, this goes everywhere. Especially the top stars over there," meaning MMA, UFC, "they're catered to a certain way, and that's great. That's their style. That's what works for them. You fight maybe once, twice a year. You're crazy. You're fighting 3 times a year." Not 3 times. He says, but to fight over 100 times a year, make all those towns, still be able to train, still be able to do all the media, it's an exhausting industry. He says, "I call them out all the time. I don't care. Try it out. I can't do what they do. I'd go in there and get knocked out and choked out in 2 seconds. I'd probably do better than CM Punk, though, but I still would most likely lose." That jab, bro. I gotta say that again. He said, yeah, I'd go in there and get knocked out, choked out in 2 seconds. I'd probably do better than CM Punk, though, but I would still most likely lose. Of course, we all know CM Punk tried his hand at MMA, and it was horribly bad. Like, I don't know if it could have gotten any worse. I guess just get knocked out in the first 3 seconds. I guess that would be worse. But Rollins did not waste an opportunity to throw a zinger over at CM Punk. But he ends the quote with, they can't come and do what we do either. They're the same umbrella, but 2 totally different worlds. So he gives you a lot of insight on just Ronda Rousey. I mean, he saw it firsthand, him and Becky Lynch, and how closely and how much Becky and Ronda worked together. And you know Becky has these conversations when Seth isn't in the picture about Ronda. But I mean, that's some good insight. Ronda just never got in, and you saw it with Brock, guys. Brock's the same way. If they weren't throwing boatloads of money at Brock wouldn't be doing this. Brock Lesnar couldn't stand the travel. He always said, even when he was on the road, it was hard to train, and that was important to Brock. So he didn't like the travel. He couldn't train properly. He was constantly being hassled, didn't want to do the media. He didn't want to do anything it took to be a pro wrestler other than just go in there, toss some humans around, and cash in your check. It worked for him because Brock is a beast of its own. But for Ronda, it didn't work here. Ronda was something really special in MMA, UFC. Comes to WWE, and it fell flat. Now, the booking did not do her any favors, but the crowd never got into Ronda. The crowd never understood what was so special. And it just didn't work. And again, WWE did not do her any favors with the creativity or lack thereof in the booking, but Ronda Rousey just never connected. There was never that connection. And Rollins is telling you, he's seen it so many times, not just MMA fighters going to WWE, but just throughout his career in different situations, different organizations. He has seen so many people try this. Ronda Rousey just couldn't hack it. At the end of the day, the travel, the training, the media appearance, all of it was too much. And maybe that's now Ronda saying, all right, you know what? I got the kid now. I'm mama. I know I couldn't hack it the first time. What makes me think I'm going to do it again? You know what? Let me just sell as many books as I can. Maybe that's what it is. That's why the timing is now that she's going to open up and totally powerbomb or armbar WWE, because damn, Ronda Rousey scathingly pulling back the curtain on WWE's treatment of the females. Not doing Levesque McMahon any favors, I'll tell you that, man. He's probably pounding his head right. No, what are you doing? She did say Levesque McMahon's one of the, from her experience, one of the better people, at least. Not a raving review, by the way. He's one of the better ones. That's because they clash so much too. So at the end, I think Ronda knew she just had to take off because she wasn't happy with anybody by the time she left. Anyway, guys, that's a huge update. A lot of people not really knowing what's going on with Ronda. She showed up to AEW for a little matchup, had a little bit of fun, collected a payday. A lot of people were like, well, I wonder if and when Ronda's coming back to WWE. Well, she's not. And now she's a liability to the company. So good luck with that, man. That's what I got for you guys. Also, a little bit of breaking news. A long-time executive, I think he was the vice president of live events, but he's been with the company for about 25 years now, I want to say. I'll give you the exact name. John Porco. Could be Poor lad. We'll go with Porco. John Porco. I don't know if that's any better. I feel like one of those little Hawaiian shindigs, and you got the pig that's frying, and you got Porco next to him. Poor John Porco. John Porco has served as the executive vice president of live events for WWE. Apparently, he's been there for about 25 years. Started up June 1999. Damn. Public relations coordinator. And eventually promoted to director of marketing for live events. Apparently, he was gone in February. He was named EVP of live events May 2022. They really don't last in that position, I've noticed, though. Wasn't that Jeff Jarrett's position? If not vice president, that was marketing, though. This dude's marketing. I think Jeff Jarrett was just like the president of the live events. So it's a little bit different. But the live events people, they never really stay there, I've noticed. So I don't want to make too much of this. Maybe the job, he just couldn't hack it, and they couldn't have him go backwards to a former position. But for 25 years, you got to think they would find something for him. They would come to common ground. Interesting. Porco isn't the only top WWE name behind the scenes to make an exit before WrestleMania. This is an article from, I believe, Sports Illustrated. And that's true too. It's these individuals are leaving before WrestleMania. You know, the Jennifer Peppermint Patty, right? Jennifer Peppermint, the personal writer for Sasha Banks. It's personal. It's got like Brian Gerwitz and The Rock. You know, Jennifer Peppermint Patty is basically the right hand woman of Sasha, writer-wise, Mercedes Moné. And she's doing a lot with AEW now. Not just for Mercedes. But she left right before Mania. That's wild. Executives were leaving in February. Interestingly enough, so he must have left with the other executives that left in February. Just odd, right? As we're getting closer to WrestleMania, top executives want nothing to do with the company. And this is after Vince McMahon was already, he's gone, right? You'd think they'd be throwing a party. They're like, no, unless they got something to do with it. I hope not. But they're taking off. WrestleMania season's a mess. Ratings are going backwards. I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul Levesque McMahon doesn't show up to work tomorrow. He's calling in sick. Oh, man. That's what I got for you guys. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we're out. BC. Saying check you. Peace.